Hey, what's up? I'm Tony Hawk, and I collect some stuff. I'm not a hoarder by definition. In fact, maybe to a fault, I've given away too many of my belongings over the years, including trophies and used boards and stuff like that. But I managed to hold on to enough of it that I have a little collection, and I also kind of veer out of skating with my collecting stuff, but I'll explain that later. So this is one of my first pro models that I actually rode, and I gave it a hand-me-down to Adrian Domain. So he had this one after me. This is like maybe my second production model of my signature board, and I even did like cut out the Palo Peralta sticker behind the wing, so I was getting super tricky. And the original production board I had got damaged in a fire and then got stolen. So I never actually had my model, my original model, and Adrian gave this back to me a few years ago. So I'm thankful that we had this sort of gift exchange. It's like the fruitcake of skateboards. We just kept changing hands. But yeah, that was one I actually rode, so I was super hyped. And then I guess to juxtapose that, this board right here is signed by Paul Simonon and Mick Jones from The Clash. And this is something that a project we did for Tony Hawk Foundation, where we sent used skateboards to bands and artists and asked them to write lyrics to a song that was chosen by the skater. We had a bunch of people were doing it, a bunch of pros, Jamie Thomas, Bob Berquist, and all these other guys. And so I sent mine to The Clash, or a couple members of The Clash, and they sent it back with London Calling and these stickers on it. And then we had to auction this off, and I was the highest bidder because I didn't want to let this go, because The Clash is my all-time favorite. So I made a hefty donation to the Tony Hawk Foundation so that I could buy my own board back from The Clash. Is that weird? Doesn't matter. More skate parks. What else do we have here? Oh, speaking of the foundation, so the seed money from the foundation came from my appearance on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Sports Celebrity Edition, and I got up to $125,000 question, which I called my brother to get the answer. It was a quote about Huckleberry Finn, and he was a literature major, so he was the right guy to call, and he got it right, and we ended up getting $125,000. And this is the seed money. It's a fake check, whatever, but this was the check they gave me on the show.
Here it is. Great to have you here. Good luck, Tony.
This started the Tony Hawk Foundation right here. My appearance on the show and this check. So I keep it for good memories. And to date, we've helped to fund over 600 parks. And this is where it all started, with a dumb trivia question. This right here is, this isn't real, don't judge. This was a fake cologne bottle that they made for a TV show called What I Like About You. And I was in the pilot episode, and the episode was based on a PR agency that was trying to do a promotion for my signature cologne. And so they made a few of these bottles, and I stole this from the set because I thought it was so ridiculous. But this is pretty cool, right? The hawk head, if I was gonna do a cologne, this probably be it right here. I don't know what it smelled like. It smelled like knee gaskets. This I'm really proud of. It's a Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Award. This is literally a Kids' Choice Award. I won favorite male sports star a long time ago, but this is back when Rosie O'Donnell was the host of the Kids' Choice Awards, and it was one of the biggest award shows. It was massive, and to be voted as the favorite sports star was a big deal for me, and it was something I'm proud of. And this is actually a kaleidoscope. That's it. It's the blimp kaleidoscope. But I never saved trophies. I didn't like the accolades and the showing them off and whatever. But this one felt much more not important, but it held more reverence to me because it was actually just kids voting, not just some skate contest where you got judged or whatever. Let's see. This right here is a Devo Hat, obviously. And this is from 2003 Boom Boom Huck Jam tour. Devo played 2 dates on our tour. They played the Anaheim show and the San Diego show. And Devo is one of my all-time favorite bands. Definitely one of the first inspirations of me learning about other types of music when I was growing up. I heard Freedom of Choice at the skate park, and I was hooked and loved Devo ever since. And the fact that they agreed to do my tour and played live, like they literally played live on the deck of our vert ramp to this arena crowd, was a huge honor for me. So they all signed this hat. I mean, and you know, some of these guys have actually passed away, but Bob 1, Bob 2, Mark Mothersbaugh, Jerry, Josh Freeze. And they gave me this before the show. And I'll never forget when they started playing, they started playing Gates of Steel, which is my favorite Devo song. And I got so fired up that I did my first 900 of that tour that night in San Diego. The irony was it was our smallest crowd and it was my hometown. So it was almost like I was throwing a birthday party for myself in my hometown. I was like, Devo's playing our show, woo! And you know, like ticket sales didn't justify the cost of the show, but I didn't care because Devo was playing on my ramp. That was a very cool night, so I hold this very dear. This right here is a reissue of a Rey Underhill deck, and Powell made these right after Ray had been diagnosed with chordoma, which is a rare form of cancer on the base of your neck. And they basically sold these as a fundraiser for Ray's family for all the treatments he was going through. Ray was actually staying with me that whole summer when he was going through the treatments. His family moved out from North Carolina to California, and then they would drive to Riverside 3 or 4 times a week to do this treatment. And so Ray signed this for me. I mean, this is pretty much the only thing I have that he passed on to me because he ended up passing away from the disease. And so he wrote, during that summer, we were watching a lot of Flight of the Conchords with our kids, and we were quoting it all the time. So Ray wrote, T, this is 1986, David Bowie from the movie The Labyrinth. Thank you for everything, Rey Underhill. And if you know Flight of the Conchords, you'll know what that quote means. But this is probably one of my most precious items that I own, and it sucks because it's a little bit sun faded, or that pen just kind of sucked when he signed it. But Ray still lives on, and we try to do a fundraiser in his honor every year or so called Get Rad for Ray, and his kids are still very much part of my life, and I don't know, Rey Underhill, he was the man, best dude ever. That's what we call him, BDE. So this right here, it just looks like a typical Chinn poster. That one I took directly from the set of Animal Chin during the Johnny Rad party scene. I remember we were done shooting. It was super late at night. I think we finished at like 2 a.m. or something. And it was just on the wall. And I thought, like, no one else is going to care about this. So I took it and I folded it in half and took it home. And so you can see the crease right there in the middle. And I forgot about it. It was just in my garage with a bunch of old magazines and stuff. And then one day I was going through stuff. And I was like, oh my God, this is actually from Animal Chin. So there it is, framed. And then right here is my Del Mar Skate Ranch membership card. I had the renewal, and all of this right here, Grant Britton, famous photographer, was the skate park manager, so that's all his handwriting. These are all sort of random art skate projects, and these represent different countries. Like this is actually Aboriginal artwork from Australia, right here. This one's from South Africa. This one is 2 Hurley sticks from Ireland. And I'm sorry, I can't remember who gave me exactly each one of these, but they are from those countries, literally. This is an artist in Mexico that did this one. This is all, this thing is super dangerous. This is all spray cans cut up and made into a dangerous weapon coffin skateboard. But when I tried to, I remember the guy gave this to me at a demo, and I had all my gear and I had my skateboard, and I cut myself trying to get this back to my car because it's so heavy and dangerous, but I love it. And this is another guy from Mexico that did this in puffy paint. This one was done by Christian Jacobs, the front man of the Aquabats, and one of the other stars of Gleaming the Cube. He's the other younger guy that was in our crew. We used to hang out a lot. He would come down and stay at my house with Jason Lee back in the Fallbrook days, and one day he just took one of my boards and painted all those characters on it, and I always kept it because I thought it was super cool, including that one on top. He actually did Steve Barrett's first graphic on Birdhouse, the kid with the cat, and then Riley stole that from me. So that hangs at his house, but that's fine. This, I went to Gene Simmons' house for an interview. He had a magazine for a while called Tongue Magazine. And he has a whole, I can't say it's a room, it's basically a museum of all their licensed goods, and there's just so much random stuff in there, but he has skateboards, and so he took the skateboard and signed it to me. And then this one from Hugh Hefner, Playboy did a series of boards too. And so I got those signed by Hugh Hefner and Gene Simmons, which is, I mean, you know, I don't know what that means, but they're iconic dudes. And when I was super young, I used to pretend like I was Gene Simmons, playing Kiss riffs and not playing guitar at all. Here's a shot with Evel Knievel. I flew to Montana at the request of, I can't remember, I want to say it was GQ or Men's Health or something like that, and they said, we want to picture you with Gene, we want to picture you with Evel, but he can't travel because he was having health problems then, and you have to fly to Montana. And I flew to Montana for one night and had him drag me or tow me on his motorcycle down the street. Got that photo. Mission accomplished. This one, we had a partnership with Six Flags for a couple years. We actually did our Huck Jam at Six Flags, like all the different locations. And they let me sort of design part of this roller coaster where the roller coaster already existed, the motion of it, but they let us do all the graphics around it and all the sort of marketing. So it was called Tony Hawk's Big Spin. I actually got permission from Brian Lottie to say that, to use that. And then we went when it opened in, I want to say this was St. Louis, and my mom, who was 80 at the time, rode it with me for the first time, which is super cool. And now she has Alzheimer's and she doesn't remember it. But this is one of my favorite things, that she was the first one. Look at her, like, and this is my sister. My mom was way more excited. Like, my sister was frightened. Maybe I was too. I like this board because this is the very first Birdhouse skateboard ever made right here. Jeremy Klein did the graphics. He did the line separations and the cutting of it, and we had to make it basic because we didn't really have a budget to do crazy graphics. So it was 2 colors, black, or 3 colors, black and white and red. And I mean, this kind of started Birdhouse, and eventually it started Hookups, because this was Jeremy's direction and he wanted to go crazy with it. And so I feel like this was such a beginning of a new chapter in my life, that what that board represented. I don't even know how this really started. I think that I heard about these auctions where you could buy movie props that were actually used in movies. And a lot of it's so random. It's like Battlestar Galactica belt, and just all these weird things. But then I started seeing stuff of movies that I liked and iconic pieces from those movies. And then I started getting into it, and I had to sort of I had an intervention with myself because I started going too crazy and spending too much money on it. But these are some of the pieces that I got before I stopped. This is actually one of the puppets used in Nightmare Before Christmas. This is the dude, the behemoth, the guy, Bunny! Bunny! So he doesn't stand too well here, but that's him. This guy was used in the Night Before Christmas, and all this stuff is, you can move it, but it's all like cracked. And I mean, that movie's old. I'm old. But I was so hyped when this one came available and I won the auction. So that one sits proudly at our home. And then this one is an actual chicken bucket from Pollos Hermanos from Breaking Bad.
That's all for today. See you next time when we'll be discussing cleanliness.
There were a few items in that auction, and I lost out on a bunch of them, but this one I got, and I was hyped on it because, I mean, that's one of the most iconic shows, and I feel like it will never be recreated again, and it will just live on in infamy, and I have a piece of it. Okay, you want to know the funny story about this? I don't want to throw Calvin under the bus, but this is what happened. So I bought this, and it came in the mail. It was all packaged like in bubble wrap, and it's like, because this stuff is not cheap, obviously. And I left it in the back of my car, and I went to pick up one of my kids, I won't say which one, from school. He was pretty young back then, and he didn't know what this was, so he started peeling off the label. And then I finally looked back and I go, "What are you doing?" He's like, what is this? And I'm like, "No!" So I always display it on the side. It's okay, Calvin, I forgive you. So I don't even know. This is probably a chicken bucket from some other location, and they just obviously rebranded it. But yeah, so I'm not going to be able to sell it for very much at another auction. Let's put it that way. So this was an invitation to the White House. This is actually an invitation to a holiday reception where they do a big holiday gathering out on the front lawn. And I keep that framed, but my original invitation to the White House, this is when Obama was in office.
Tony Hawk, who's the best skateboarder in the world.
My original invitation was from 2012, and I went to the White House for a Father's Day event. And I'm sure, the story has resonated, but I actually took my skateboard with me just because whenever I show up without my skateboard, if it's not a skate event, people are like, "Where's your board? Where's your board?" So I just bring it because I don't even want to have that conversation. And then I found myself in the hallway of the White House with no one around except my escort, and there was another pro athlete actually that was nearby, and I handed him my phone. I said, "Hey, will you take a photo of me skating down the hallway?" And my escort literally was like, because he didn't want to be responsible for being the one that allowed me to do it. So he was just like, "I didn't see it, I don't know anything," and he turned around, and then I skated down the hallway, and that guy shot a photo of me. I can't remember who it was. And then I put it out on the internet, and then it went viral because people were like, some people were super excited, others were saying I disrespected the people's house, and I was like, "What do you want? I'm a skateboarder. You invited me to the White House. I'm gonna skate." Yeah, so I would do it again if I got the chance, maybe with another administration. But this was the board that I rode, and the people at my office had the wherewithal to say, "You should save that board and frame it." So here it is. This thing, this guy who does metal work, I think he was in Toronto. He was closing his shop and just made this, like this was in his storefront the whole time he had his business. And on Twitter, he sent me a photo. He said, "Hey, I'm closing my shop and this used to hang in front. Would you want to buy it?" And I was like, "Hell yes." And then he said, "Okay, cool. I'll just drive it to you." So he drove it here from Toronto. This is a pinball game from the 70s, Skateball. I think that's Curtis Hasselgrave. I don't know. Some skate nerds are going to be really mad at me if I don't have that right, but I don't remember, sorry. And this is like the coolest game. I love pinball, and the fact that they had a skate pinball game was like, had to have it. And this was not easy to find, especially a working one. But I mean, look at this dude. He's living the dream. Wait. Like, this is what I aspire to still. I just got this, and it's from Wild at Heart, which is one of my absolutely all-time favorite movies, David Lynch. And if you've seen it, you know exactly what this is and what it represents. But just know that they're making pornos, Texas style.
What's up with this board, Tony?
It's used for this. So this right here is, I think, one of the coolest movie props I ever got. Movie, TV. This was a skateboard used for CSI Miami. time, Em.
Why am I even fighting for you? Look at yourself. Skateboarding at 35. You're pathetic.
Well, wait.
Yes!
And if you look at it, the whole thing is rubber, including the trucks. How amazing is that? And even this, like, look at it. So when I saw this, I was like, that's a serious prop department. That's a serious budget. And so I stole it. How could I let this go? It's gonna end up some Ark of the Covenant box, like not to be seen again. So yeah, sorry about that, but you're not getting it back.